Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Bullony Basketball. Here today with my man, Romp 2.0. How's it going, bro?
It's going good, December basketball. Is it meaningful? Who the heck knows? But I'm enjoying the season.
Yeah, I'm enjoying, you know, a little bit of 29 NBA teams so far this year. But we'll get into that later. We could start off though with the show talking about something interesting. Not even like a specific player, or team, or something. I kind of want to talk about the refs because I haven't talked about this at all yet. And lately, like I don't know if you saw, like there was a Warriors Mavericks game. They called like I think 10 or 11 carries and travels. There was a Cavs game the other day. They called 13 of them. So I guess just to ask you, because they're being more strict, it seems like this year. Do you think this is good for the league so far this season? Do you think they're getting the calls right? Like what is just your takeaway from the refs so far this year?
I think I don't really enjoy it because the more you hear from the zebras, the referees, like it's just not good for the game. Plus they added that rule where if you foul someone on the fast break, then it's a free throw, and they did that to speed up the game. But now they're calling ticky tack travel calls, which is
Mm-hmm.
slowing down the game. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, why did you implement that rule if you want to speed it up? And then you're going to call ticky tack walks that aren't necessarily like really walks half the time. It's like, it's not really affecting the game. I don't think you need to call a walk when it's not like clear and obvious and it's not allowing the offensive player to have a insane advantage. So I just think it's kind of useless and it's just more whistles, and I don't want to hear more whistles. I just want to see a fast paced game. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. It's kind of getting.
Yeah, I can see kind of both sides of it. So, I mean, I feel like most people know. I'm sure. I mean, I'm pretty traditional. I like the old school rules. I'm like the number one defender for like Oscar Robertson or like Jerry West, Lou Hudson, like all these old players. So the old rules, I like to see that incorporated. And I would probably say, yeah, they are travels, yeah, they are carries if you dissect them. But I think that we've kind of gotten to a point where, it's kind of been allowed. Like they made this, I feel like it's a little inconsistent over the years because I mean, you're a Sixers fan. Like they used to do this to Allen Iverson a lot back in the day too. And like I feel like it's kind of unfair either way because like now you're allowing so much freedom for current players that you didn't allow maybe for someone like Allen Iverson or like Tim Hardaway or a lot of the elite ball handlers before. So I think there's that side of things, but at the same time, it's like like you said, they're slowing down the game. Personally, I feel like if you're gonna slow down the game, you might as well just add in the like fix to the challenge rule, which I always thought like, okay, if you win a challenge, you should keep your challenge until you lose it. Like why don't they just add that in now if they're already gonna slow down the game by like 10 or so minutes with these excessive travels or carries or double dribbles or you know what I mean? So that's kind of how I see it, but I don't know.
The worst thing about it is when they call these ticky tack travel calls and then they miss the most obvious travel calls, like
Mhm.
the one Jeremy Grant and the Suns game. And there was just one, a couple, I forget, but they miss obvious travel calls and then they call a travel where someone catches it and just takes it off the dribble. And it's like the only way you would see that being a travel is if you're watching the game in full in 0.25 speed. Like everyone on Twitter right now is like dissecting carries and stuff like that because they're pissed off that they're calling carries for Jordan Poole, but they're not calling carries for Ja and Giannis.
Mhm.
It's like the only reason you see that as a carry is because you're watching it in super, super slow mo. You're
Right.
not going to see that in real time. So it's like, I don't know, just call the obvious ones. That's what pisses me off because they're calling everything, but then they miss the obvious ones like the Jeremy Grant one.
Yeah, yeah, that was a bad one. Actually, when I had Suns Geek on last week, we talked about that one too. But no, I think like they need to allow. I guess Yeah, I guess it's fair maybe to call it sometimes and stuff like that. Maybe allow some freedom though. I mean, someone like Kobe, for example, like he even said like, when he played, he used whatever he could to his advantage. Like he studied like where the refs would stand on the court, like when he was in the half court and stuff, and that's how he'd draw his fouls or like make it appear like he's drawing a foul. I feel like that's kind of the same way with how someone like Jordan Poole or John Moran or Kyrie or whoever is handling the ball kind of uses that to their advantage. And now you're kind of asking them to play a different way than they played maybe their whole NBA career, or at least like the last like 4 or so years. That's probably like when it became like a huge thing. So I don't know. You got anything else there with the refs?
Nah, I just need less refs and I'm cool.
Less zebras. Yeah. But we can move on. We could talk about we're kind of going to bundle this one, I think, all together with three players that came back. Actually, there's a fourth one coming back tonight. We're not really going to talk about him, and that is Chris Paul, just because I feel like the season he's had is a little bit sketch. But we could talk about, Damian Lillard, who came back his first game. Not too bad. Chris Middleton, he's been back over a couple games now. Played pretty good the first game, not so great the other night. And then, obviously, for your Sixers, James Harden came back against his former team, the Rockets. He didn't look too great. But you can, I guess, tell me, I guess, the significance that maybe all these returns of star players have. And even if you want, you can vent a little bit about your Sixers as well.
All right, so Chris Middleton, I think that's the biggest one because the Bucks are the closest to like being a championship team, and without him last year, it was clear they needed just another bucket getter next to Giannis to take some relief off of him in the big game. So I think that's the most important one. I think he'll come around and look like himself towards the end of the year. He might struggle, kind of like Klay Thompson, but he's needed. It's pretty obvious because without him last year, they came up short. The Trailblazers are the same thing. The West is pretty open, so Dame and the Portland Trailblazers, they need Dame because without him, they kind of look like a mess. Plus, their schedule was they had a lot going on with their schedule, so they kind of looked gassed in some of the games without Dame because early in the year, even without Dame, they were playing pretty well. But you can't be a contender without Dame. So
Mm-hmm.
him coming back is huge, and he looks pretty good. Not like old Dame, prime Dame, but still relatively the same Dame who's going to cause a lot of commotion because he can knock down shots. And then you got Simons and Grant who are establishing themselves as all-star players. So, I mean, if I'm a Trailblazers fan, I can easily talk myself into believing that they're contenders because the West, let's just be honest, there's no real like team that is dominant. Like the Celtics look dominant right now,
Mm-hmm.
but in the West, everyone has their issues. So that's huge for the Trailblazers. James Harden coming back is, as a Sixers fan, I really could care less, to be quite honest with you. I've been on his hater side this season just because I don't know. It seems like Daryl Morey has built the team more towards Harden's strengths than Embiid's strengths. Plus, Harden and Embiid seem to not care to work well together. They're kind of just like, yo, it's your turn, my turn, sort of offense. And it seems like there's kind of a rift in the locker room of how they want to play offensively. And to me, I think Joel Embiid has proven that the best chance of winning is playing through him. But at the same time, there is a limit to playing through a center in today's NBA. But James Harden just simply isn't what he used to be. Like you saw when Shake Milton was playing, he was putting up numbers. He
Yeah,
was
he,
putting
he
up
looked good.
8 assists per game as well. Like he was also getting assists. He was putting up 20 points. So like I don't know, James Harden with him on the court, the defense is terrible. Without him, the defense was number 1 in the league. So it's like I don't know. I feel like we're paying a Ricky Rubio type player, and he thinks he's old school James Harden, where he can just dominate the ball. And it's like, dude, why is he here? Because
Yeah.
it's just not necessary if he's not going to be scoring 25 plus. Plus, he plays trash defense, so it's like, oh, it's annoying.
Yeah. I'll kind of go in the same order there. So I guess like to start off with Middleton, definitely the biggest one I think in terms of like championship aspirations. Like you said last year, like they very well like could have went all the way again. I mean, they were the defending champs going into last season, and then they lose Middleton in the first round. Went seven still with the Celtics, who went all the way to the finals, and they even very well could have won the whole thing. They had a 2-1 series lead in the finals. So who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a chance they could have won, and I think, you know, it's gonna take them a little bit of time. Like I mean, you're seeing other guys like Jamal Murray, Kawhi, who, they played a couple games throughout the season. I mean, Jamal Murray's been playing almost all year, Kawhi and not so much, but they're gonna take some time even to gel more to get back into a rhythm. So I think maybe by like February or something, you'll probably see like the Chris Middleton of old kind of like come back into play. As for Dame, I agree with you. I think they're actually a pretty good team without him, but I think they're kind of just like an average team without him. But you have Dame in there. I think you know, it's still very early, but they look like they have the potential to be a contending team actually this season. They just look like they have a better defensive identity. They play harder. They have solid 3-point shooters, and the leap from Anthony Simons, and I think the continued high level of play from Jeremy Grant is something that maybe I didn't expect coming into the season, at least at the level that we see right now.
It's 3 point shooting.
Yeah. I mean, like Simons last year, I think he averaged like 18 a game. Like I probably thought, okay, maybe as his two guard, he could average that again, maybe 20 a game, but he's putting up, I think, like 25 points a game. I think he's averaging as many points as like LeBron, Zion, DeRozan right now. Like that's insane. And he deserves a lot of credit, but I think Dame is ultimately the most important player on this team, and they're going to go as far as really he leads them. And then Harden, like you said, first few games of the year actually, like he looked pretty good, but the style of play, it just seemed like it was like Houston Harden. You know what I mean? Like he was getting his numbers, and if you were checking maybe like the basketball reference, it'd be like, oh, okay, like he didn't play bad. And for those games, he probably didn't, but it really didn't seem conducive to winning. That's kind of like a big reason why the Sixers got off to a slow start this year. What were you guys? Were you guys like 2-5 after your first seven or something like that, or like? Yeah, it was kind of bad. Wait, what'd you say?
The Spurs too
Yeah,
early on.
yeah, that it was just not looking great. And it's kind of unfortunate for a guy like, well, one Embiid, who I feel like you said, I feel like they need to run more through him if they're gonna play maybe more ISO ball. And really, I think they just need to run more like pick and rolls. When they collapse on Embiid, kind of fill in the gaps that they're leaving open. And a guy like Shake Milton too. I think he's gonna deserve still a decent amount of playing time, even when this Sixers team is at 100%. I know they got Harden back, but down the line, even in the playoffs, I think that he's kind of maybe getting a raw deal because I think he could contribute at a high level too. But I don't know. You got any other thoughts here?
I think the thing that no one really talks about is how Embiid's playmaking goes down when Harden's on the court. Like when Embiid is by himself or with lesser players that know, okay, we're running through Embiid, he can get in a rhythm playmaking wise. Like he was averaging like 7 assists per game the last month in November, and he went off against Jazz, the Bucks, and he really made a step playmaking wise. But whenever Harden's on the court, it just seems like he can't get in a rhythm playmaking. Like you saw that pass against the Rockets, he threw it to the referee instead of whoever was on the court, and it's like I don't know. It just seems they don't have chemistry whatsoever.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget like Seth Curry and Embiid are a better offensive duo than Harden and Embiid so far during their playing career. And the team before Harden came was record wise was better, and just looking at how they played together was better. And he came, and their record was good, but it wasn't as good as what it was before Harden. And then this season, they've been a better team without Harden and without Embiid on the court. Like the best basketball they have played is without their stars. So it's like pre-Harden, you can make an argument because of the fit, not in terms of the names. Like they were a better team.
Yeah, I know how that feels too. The Bulls are kind of same way. I know we'll get to them, but yeah, I don't know. Sixers, I mean, they got a few problems. Hopefully, Harden can come back and start looking like himself, and actually contribute the way that they thought he would when they brought him in midway through last year. But I kind of want to talk about this now, uh, and it's like a weird situation. So recently, last week on Friday, when the Hawks played the Nuggets, Trae Young, he had, I believe, like a shoulder injury, and he was getting treatment um, earlier in the day. And Nate McMillan, the head coach, asked him if he was going to participate in shoot around because he was still, and he said, well, I'm still getting treatment for my shoulder or whatever, so I guess not. And I guess he has a rule in play where if you don't participate in shoot around, you either come off the bench or you just won't play for that game. And Trae Young elected to, just not play. So then people were questioning his leadership and all this other stuff. I did actually check. For his career, he's started every game that he's played. So I don't know if that's like a pride thing there too. So I guess like what did you make of this whole thing? And do you think it puts the Hawks like in a weird position?
I think the Hawks are already in a weird position because their depth is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Their depth is horrible. Like I don't even know who's coming off the bench. I remember the Sixers played the Hawks, and their bench was just like Shake Milton was literally picking them apart. Like he was picking mismatches off when the bench lineups were in. And Dejounte Murray is good, but their depth is gone. And Bogdanovich is always hurt. He's never around. He would help
Mm-hmm.
them out a lot, but he's just not reliable. Losing Kevin Herter is huge because why would you not want a 3-point shooter like him next to Trae Young, even though his defense is kind of suspect? But I just think the depth on that team sucks. And I like Trae Young, but at the same time, defensively, he's traffic cone. So that's
Mm-hmm.
always going to be a problem. Um, but yeah, I just don't think the Hawks are that great of a team. I think Trae Young's a fine leader, probably not like top tier leadership wise, but he's proven that he gets to the conference finals with not that great a team. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with you. I think the Hawks are already in a weird spot. I forget. I think I saw on it was either I think it was Twitter today. It was showing like the highest on off rating for the best on off rating top player like for every team. And the Hawks, it was Trae Young, but he was ranked last, of all the teams, like among the leaders. So I just look at that and I'm thinking like a lot of these games, they could go pretty much either way. I've looked at their schedule. They've played a lot of really easy teams, and yet they're only 13-11. Like for example, like the Timberwolves, for instance, they've played a relatively easy schedule too. They're not too far back of that too, but everyone's criticizing them probably because they made a big splash for Gobert. But you look at this Hawks team. Of course, you said they made the conference finals 2 years ago. I think most people would agree that that was kind of a fluke, anyways. But now last year they lose in the first round. This year, I don't really consider them like a real threat to win the championship. Maybe second round exit at best. They are fourth, but it's like I don't know. And I feel like this whole thing, like with Trae Young, like maybe it seems like he's a little bit. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like a weird vibe now with him as a leader. And I know like this, he said everything will like kind of blow over and all that stuff. But like you said, losing guys like Herter, losing guys like Gallinari as well. He was huge for them the last few years in the playoffs. I think it's hurting them. Like they have a rookie, AJ Griffin, who's been starting a lot of their games, and he wasn't even a lottery pick. And that's kind of hard to expect someone like him to come into that role first year and kind of take that step. So I don't know. I mean, DeJounte Murray definitely a better player than like. It's definitely an improvement off Kevin Huerter alone, improvement off Gallinari alone. But I think the overall like team, I don't know how much it made them better per se. And then you got the whole John Collins rumors and everything. Like, so I don't know. They're just in a weird spot, but yeah, it's just not looking great.
Yeah, the John Collins thing also is just a
Yeah. Um, but if you want, we can move on. We could talk about my Chicago Bulls. You know, there's been some really confusing news about this. So, first of all, recently they also said something like Shams broke that they'd signed Billy Donovan to an undisclosed amount of years for an extension prior to the season. I don't know why he broke that just now, like kind of like 5 months later or so. But apparently it was right after we lost in the playoffs. And then now we got a report saying that DeRozan and Levine are both untouchable, even though the Bulls are the sixth worst team in the NBA right now. And if they end up with a top 4 pick in the draft this year, they do keep their pick, but right now they're the sixth worst team. It would transfer to Orlando. So you're basically giving Orlando 2 top 6 picks, and we gave him Wendell Carter as well, and essentially Franz Wagner too. So what do you think? Like, I'll let you talk first. I'm gonna have a lot to say, but what do you think about the Bulls right now?
that's a disaster, man. I mean, it kind of feel better as a Sixers fan, uh, but I don't know. Signing Billy Donovan to more years is kind of weird, considering he's as you're going to say probably is a big reason for the problem. I would probably move on from DeMar if the Bulls don't show any signs of being like a team, because you can get stuff in return. You're going to want to get assets. You gave up some assets. Maybe even Zach LaVine, because I don't know. That dude just seems like he does not care anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just crazy to me how he's so athletic, but he's so bad at getting to the rim and getting fouled and stuff like that. He just shies away from contact.
Yep.
He's not of a driver. It's just weird to me. And like, he's a dunker, but he doesn't use that when he's driving. It's like, dude, go through somewhere. Where's his posters? He should be having posters like every 3 weeks with that athletic ability. Maybe it's because of the injuries in the past. Who knows? Also, I think Alonzo Ball, he's kind of like a playmaker to get everyone going. They need him, but who knows what's going on. I mean, he's always injured. So there's a lot of question marks, and it seems like there's not great vibes in the locker room either.
Yeah. I'm kind of to the point where even if we did turn it around and everything like that, the best we're going to be is a first round exit again. Like, even before the season, I projected us as the 7 seed. So, probably 6 through 8, best case scenario, if we really turned it around, odds are we'll probably get into the play-in and lose and not even make the playoffs. But at that point, it's like, I don't know why we just don't throw in the towel this year, just tank. Obviously, I don't think we can't trade Levine quite yet because that deadline or whatever is in a little bit, like a few weeks or something. But maybe after that, also with Vucevic in a contract in an expiring year, maybe bad teams might be more willing to take him on. And then also DeRozan, I think you just got to try and get rid of all of them. And I love DeMar. I think DeMar has been great for us. I think basically it's too much for him. I think Billy Donovan as well, he needs to go too, even though he's not going to, but he needs to go too. But he relies so much on DeMar to save this team night in and night out, and I feel like it's just wearing on him. I feel like he deserves a better situation. As for Zach LaVine, I don't know. Like, he seems like vision of the past of who he used to be. Because now, like you said, he's not dunking on everyone. You wouldn't believe this guy. Some people were making an argument 5 years ago. Is he the best dunker in NBA history? Now he almost never rises up. And he does shy away from a lot of contact. That's another thing I was really going to say. He lowers his shoulder every time he drives in, and then he fades back more than almost any player, at least any star two guard in the league that I've seen, at least this season. So, and then Vucevic just it's not working. So I don't know. I feel like you just got to clean house with the stars. Maybe go all in for Wembanyama. The odds actually, like, if people are bought into this NBA conspiracy that the draft lottery is rigged, and I'm looking at the markets down there, the Bulls would have a pretty good shot at maybe, if it is rigged. I don't know. I'm just saying that. So, and at the very least, maybe like Scoot Henderson. I mean, he's also really solid. So you just got to go all in for one or the other. And I don't think they can make this team substantially better by trading some of the other guys. Like, who are they going to trade? Like Kobe White or, Io or Caruso? Like, I don't think that's going to get you that much back in return. Patrick Williams. Don't even get me started on Patrick Williams. I'm going to leave that for another day. But I don't know. It just frustrates me to think that, Jerry Reinsdorf wants to be so greedy. He doesn't want to pay in the luxury tax, and he just wants to kind of stay content with being average. And it's annoying. You kind of see it a little bit with the Nuggets right now. The only difference is they have an MVP level player in Jokic, so they're actually a really good team. The Bulls, as much as I like DeRozan, he's probably top 15, 20 player in the league, probably top 20. It just won't work, especially in this era. Like, I just don't see it happening. So, yeah.
Sorry for your.
It's okay. I'll get over it. I'm used to it by now. So, but yeah. If you want, I feel like that was a really sad transition there. But if you want, we can maybe get more energetic, more happy, and go on to the NBA 20 questions game.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to remind people the rules, or, say them if anyone's new watching. So basically, Romp here has an opportunity to ask me 20 yes or no questions about an NBA related thing. Could be a current player, former player, current team, former team, a coach, something like that. He gets one guess after every, hint question he asks. And if he really doesn't know, he has the opportunity to give up. Now, I'm kind of making a new rule right now that he has to at least ask 5 questions before he can give up. And then, so the least amount of questions you use, you get more points. So maximum amount you can get is 60 points. There's 3 questions. But yeah, are you ready?
Ready.
All right. So the first question, you can ask away.
Wait. Is there like a picture on Twitter or something?
No. So basically, you're just asking me like yes or no questions, trying to figure out like, like what the NBA related thing is. It could be like a current player, a former player, a coach, a team. And so like you might need to ask like a question like, is the thing I'm guessing like a current player? And then I'd say like yes or no. And then like,
Okay.
or something like that. And then you keep going.
Is it a current player?
This one is a current player. So yes.
Western or Eastern Conference?
Not exactly.
Oh, wait, no. You can't ask that.
I mean,
Western Conference.
Yes. Either way, you would have known, but yeah.
Does this player have an all-star appearance under his belt?
Yes.
Has this player ever averaged 20 plus points per game?
Yes.
Is this player an MVP type player?
Define an MVP type player. Like someone who's finished like top 5 in MVP, like at one point in his career or something like that?
Yes.
Okay, then yes. He has at least at some point in his career.
Is this player Devin Booker?
Wow, you got it.
Let's go. I don't know how I got it.
That
That's
was
crazy.
impressive. I don't know how you got it so quick.
I think the last question of the you said like he's been in there, but you kind of made it where he hasn't been like up there. And
Mhm.
D Book's been around there, but he hasn't been able to push it over the top to get it.
Well, it was a good question to ask, like MVP level. Like if you would have just said MVP, then obviously it would have been no. So that was pretty good. So you only asked 5 questions. Like I said, so if you use one question, it's 20 points, and it goes from there. So 5 questions, you got 16 points right now.
How many questions do I get? 20?
You can ask 20 questions for each like each one. So, but you only needed 5 on that one, so that was pretty good. So, are you ready for the second question?
How many questions are there?
Well, there's 3. So you already did one of them. There's 2 more.
Is it a former player?
It is. Yes.
Hall of Fame player?
He's not in the Hall of Fame. No.
Is he a role player?
Um I mean, okay, I'm kind of going to bend the rules. He was for some of his career, but not a majority of his career.
Is he a famous role player?
Uh
Like a
I
popular one?
I wouldn't no, I wouldn't say so.
Does he have any All-Star appearances?
Yes.
Is one of his teams red?
Um no, actually.
Hmm. Western Conference?
Um so he played for multiple teams, so yes. Um I feel like he's probably most known for a Western Conference team though too, so I'm going to say yes.
Is it Jason Terry?
It is not Jason Terry. So, because you guessed a player and it was incorrect, that doesn't count against your total. So, you're still only at 7 questions.
Does he have a championship ring?
He does have a championship.
Does he have multiple?
He does not have multiple. He just has one.
Is I'm out. I don't really know. I'm clueless right now. I asked like more than five, so
You don't know. You give up.
I,
Okay, that's tough. I feel like this is a little bit of a hard one. It's more of a recent player, but I can totally understand if he blanked your mind because I feel like he's often forgotten. It's David Lee.
David Lee.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of thinking like between Knicks and Warriors, those were his 2 main teams, but I feel like the Warriors is where he's most known because he won a ring there. He was an All Star. Um,
He was an All Star.
yeah, in 2013, 2010, and 2013, he made one with the Knicks and the Warriors.
I
So
didn't know David Lee was like that.
yeah, he was pretty good. Yeah, actually, the first year they made it, the playoffs in the Steph Curry era, he was an All Star that year too. So probably hard to believe because he doesn't really fit in with that core. But anyways, are you ready for the third and final question?
Yes.
All right, you can ask away.
Is it a player?
No.
Is it a coach?
Yes.
A championship coach?
Yes.
Former
No.
coach? Current coach?
Uh, yes. So that's 5 questions so far.
Is the coach known for blowing leads?
Mm, I wouldn't say so.
So it's not Doc
So it's not
Rivers.
Doc Rivers. No, I knew where you were going with that.
Championship ring. Is this a recently hired coach? Like, did he just come back? Or
Um, how recent would you say like a recently hired coach is? Like last 2 years, 3 years, 5 years?
yeah, yeah, 2 years, 3 years?
Uh, I would say no then.
Is it Mike Brown?
It is not Mike Brown.
Yeah, he just got hired. That was bad.
It's okay.
Western Conference?
No. So he's in the East.
Western Conference.
Hmm.
I should be able to get this, but freaking blanking on coaches.
He has a championship too.
Championship. Hmm. Oh, nah, he doesn't have a championship. Hmm. Who the heck? Oh. Is it Rick Carlisle?
It is not Rick Carlisle.
What? Gotta be Rick Carlisle.
Nope.
He has a championship, right?
He does with the Mavericks,
I was gonna say.
but it is not him.
Who else is it? And I'm gonna hate myself when you tell me this. I know I am.
I don't know. I feel like you can get it. I feel like there's not that many other. I don't know. I feel like there's not that many other Eastern Conference championship coaches.
Is it Nick Nurse?
It is Nick Nurse. Yes.
I was
Now,
like,
because you actually guessed twice without using a second hint, I did dock you one more point. That's kind of how the game works. So you still got 12 points for that one. Not bad. That's pretty good.
better than Suns Geek.
I believe it is better than Sunsky. You ended with 28 points. I think that's actually pretty good on the leaderboard, so not bad. But yeah, okay, so one more thing. I've been doing this every episode. Before we go, I want you to give me, now this could be a current player or a former player, it doesn't matter. An NBA player you do like and an NBA player you don't like.
NBA player I do like. I like. I'm gonna go like underrated players.
Okay.
I love watching Isaiah Jackson.
I like that.
Also Paul Reed because they're basically the same type of player. Just hustle, hustle, hustle. Um, People I don't like. Uh, I would say Brooke Lopez. No. The reason I don't like Brooke Lopez is because he's just annoying to play with Embiid because Embiid likes to sit in the paint and he's always shooting threes.
Right.
Just the Bucks team, the whole Bucks team pisses me off. I'm gonna be honest. Bobby Portis too because he hits contested fadeaways. Grayson Allen will be hitting threes against us, and then when I watch him, when I want the Bucks to win, Grayson Allen will be the worst player in the world. It's
Yeah.
like I don't like the Bucks team if I'm being real. I did when they won, but now they're old, they're annoying, boring team, slow.
Nah, that's fair.
Lopez is defensive player of the year candidate though.
That is fair. All right. I'll keep that in mind then for when that comes later in the season.
You
But
gonna answer?
am I gonna answer like who I do and don't like?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I guess I could do that. Who I do like, I'm gonna go. Well, obviously I like Derrick Rose, but I guess I'll say right now, former player now. He hasn't officially retired, but my guy Brandon Jennings, always got to give him some light. And then who I don't like, I've said this to a few people already. I don't like Jeff Teague. I cannot stand Jeff Teague.
I got one. I got the actual player I don't like.
Oh,
Damian Lee. I
oh,
don't like Damian Lee at all because when he makes a 3-pointer, he acts like he's the best player in the world. But we all know
facts.
he's trash. And for some odd reason, he's hitting 3-pointers this season. And to Suns Geek, I really feel bad for Suns Geek because there's going to be a time where eventually he becomes the player that he is, which is a G League level player. And I hate how he's all cocky when he hits threes. He's just annoying. Damian Lee,
All
annoying.
right. I I got it. So Damian Lee, that's whose jersey I need to get next time I have you on the show. That's who I need to wear. But yeah, other than that, I think that's basically gonna do it for the show. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching. You got any final thoughts?
No, thanks for having me. It's a good time.
Yeah, appreciate it. I see. Also, I just now noticed you're repping the Ravens. So there's that.
Yep.
But yeah.
More.
Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching, and we're out. Peace.